The Fed is clearly divided on what to do next. Yesterday in the daily financial news, we rattled off a lot of Fed presidents basically saying December's not coming, inflation's a problem. Now let's talk about the other side of the fence. We've got Fed President Moran and Waller talking a big game. We'll go to Fed President Moran first. The Fed risks a recession if it doesn't cut rates rapidly. And according to Moran, rapidly means 50 basis points. He does go on to say that 75 would be just simply too much, but he does believe that the Fed is far away from neutral and should be cutting rates quickly. On top of that, Moran says the Fed is too restrictive, which is clearly different than many other Fed presidents who are saying we are at or very close to neutral. And then finally, being too data dependent makes the Fed look backwards, i.e., not forward to what is coming. That has been often a critique of the Fed and one that Moran is wielding. Fed President Waller, also out talking, says that inflation is coming back to 2%. The biggest concern today or now is the labor market. Again, I do believe that the Fed is divided as I have ever seen it. I would argue that there's probably 3, maybe 4 Fed presidents that see a December cut as a lock and important or critical. There is likely somewhere between 6 and 10 that would prefer a pause. And that is why Jerome Powell's press conference was so hawkish, as he was trying to thread the needle and try to keep everybody on the same page. Very interesting. Obviously, tomorrow is election day. There is no election that is talked about more than the mayor race in New York City. It does look like prediction markets are still indicating that a communist will win. And there are now prediction markets saying that upwards of 700,000 plus New Yorkers will flee. Now, again, I wonder. Again, we have heard about predictions about people leaving the United States if Trump won. Not nearly anyone did. Also, we need to realize that even though the future mayor of New York may be promising to raise taxes on the rich, he can't do it alone. He needs support from the New York governor, who appears to say, no bueno, it's not coming. So this may just be another classic high school president race where you make promises of everything's free and you don't need to do your homework and vending machines are free and all of this stuff, and then he can't do anything. So call me a little suspect that 700,000 New Yorkers will flee simply because of the mayor race. But we'll see. We'll see, because it will be quick if it should happen. Evercore ISI is saying don't bet against the S&P 500. They have raised their target for 2026 to 7750, or roughly 10-12% higher than it is today. Again, will be interesting to watch. We did get one earnings announcement this morning before market open that I was paying attention to. It is Freshpet. Why? Well, one of the luxuries we get in our life, should we enjoy them, is to bring pets. And pets are expensive, right? Happy and Sunny, our 2 little Shih Tzus, are expensive. And I'm always wondering how good the economy is by how we're doing by taking care of our pets. So Freshpets beat top line, beat bottom line. They achieved positive free cash flow ahead of schedule, although they did acknowledge that consumer behavior is changing rapidly. And they actually lowered year-end guidance based on consumer expectations. So it does feel like pet owners are cutting back, maybe not buying as many toys or treats or whatnot. But yes, it looks like Freshpet is telling us that consumer behavior is changing. I want to do a quick update on our Vegas event, if you forgive me, in February 14th and 15th. Again, we have less than 100 tickets left. I want to tell you about the day 1 agenda. We'll do day 2 tomorrow. The day 1 agenda, we'll just hit the highlights. We're going to start off the day with Cody Davis. Cody Davis, if you don't know who he is a multimillionaire. So Cody, if you don't know, he's a newlywed. Cody was just married to his lovely fiance a couple of weeks ago. Ashley, I believe her name is. So if you know Cody, send him some love. If you don't know Cody, send him some love anyway. But yes, Cody Davis, Gen Z will be kicking off the ORaaT event. First speaker, first day. Basically talking about, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. He started his journey at 18. He's now a multimillionaire at 25. Next up, we're going to have the one and only Jared. Jared was our Sunday featured speaker yesterday. He's going to be talking about co-living, how to do it right, do it wrong, how to manage co-living from afar. One thing you may not know is his co-living is in Arizona, but he lives in Washington. So not only does he have the wrinkle of co-living, but he is doing out-of-state co-living. Next up will be a speaker that you may not have heard of. She has been on the channel a couple of times, has a wonderful story. Andrea is or was a doctor. She went all the way through medical school, became a doctor in South America. She realized that her future was limited by where she chose to live and practice. So she pulled up stakes and moved to the United States legally. And now she is in real estate and whatnot. So last year, we got to hear from Lisa Sutton, who was a lawyer who transitioned to an entrepreneur. And this year, we're going to hear from Andrea, who was a doctor who transitioned to be an entrepreneur. Next up, we have made a change to the agenda. Last year's featured speaker, the most talked about presentation was from Fred. Fred is a pastor in Alaska and a mental health expert. Fred has graciously agreed to go extra for all of us. So he's going to give a talk on Saturday morning, and then he is going to have some one-on-one sessions Sunday at lunch. I think he's going to do 4 or 5 spots. So again, the most appreciated talk last year was around mindset and mental health. So we've got the one and only Fred coming back for that. Next up after lunch, we're going to have someone that I truly enjoy following on X. She goes by the moniker Leah the Trader. But what you may not know about Leah is she is a firestorm. She is just full of passion and actually started her wealth building journey in Europe, of all places, and built up a real estate portfolio of rentals in Europe as a 20-year-old. And building a portfolio of real estate in Europe is very different than the United States. And she will talk about her can-do attitude, her mindset, how to make that happen, how to take no prisoners and move forward. Then we'll have Aaron and his wife talk about a passion project. We talked to Aaron a couple of times now, and he and his wife raised millions of dollars for a passion project. So we will hear more about that. And then finally, the keynote speaker will be Jason Hartman. Jason Hartman will be the featured speaker on Saturday. We actually have two keynote presentations this year. Saturday will be Jason. We will have some other surprises like awards and whatnot sprinkled in throughout day one. But time to get your tickets to the Vegas event, get your hotel, get your airfare. Things are on sale in Vegas, so now's the time to get tickets before they get too expensive. And you will not want to miss day one or day two. So buy your tickets. Don't miss out. You will not be disappointed. We're getting updates from Resi Club about D.R. Horton and inflation. Folks, we've heard for a long time that tariffs and labor and all this stuff would drive inflation up in housing. According to D.R. Horton, not true. According to D.R. Horton, inflation is down 1% quarter on quarter and 1.5% year on year. And actually, builder confidence is starting to rise as mortgage rates reduce to close to 6%. So again, very interesting that the talk track of the media is not proven to be true. And as a real estate owner, I will tell you, I'm getting better quotes. I just had to repair a roof the other day, and replace a roof. And what might have cost me 12 to 14 grand during 21 or 22, it's probably going to cost me $9 or $9,500. People are not doing projects. People are need work. So again, we are seeing disinflation and maybe even some deflation in labor. So again, there it is. Scott Bessent says there are sectors of the economy in a recession, to which I say, no duh. I would argue that mortgage and real estate has been in a depression for well over 3 years, perhaps 3.5 years, but it is nice to hear that. We are getting some updates about housing turnover. Housing turnover is continuing to be weak and is actually at a 40-year low. What does that mean? That means only 28 houses out of 1,000, or 2.8%, have traded hands, where in 2021 it was 44 out of 100, or 4.4%. So almost cut in half. This is something I brought up to you well over 3 years ago. Given the lock-in effect, we were going to see turnover double, meaning go from 8 years to something larger, and it looks like we were right again. Don't let the doomers fool you. Housing affordability is getting better. You may not like to see it, you may not like to hear it, but math is math. The median house payment is actually down 1.4% year on year. How can that be? Well, folks, interest rates are down. It's math. Yes, I know there's that king doomer called Reventure Consulting who wants to confuse you, who wants to talk about home prices to income. Talk about a completely worthless metric only meant to create fear and stupidity. None of us, or at least very few of us, pay cash for housing. If we were all forced to pay cash for housing, then yes, Reventure Consulting would be right to compare home prices with income. He is not right, because we also have this thing called mortgage payment or interest rates. And whether you like it or not, whether you will admit it or not, it is getting more affordable. It is down 1.4% year on year. Buyers are backing out at a high rate. According to numbers from September, they're backing out 15% of pending transactions in September were backed out of. FedWatch now says that there's less than a 70% chance of a 25 basis cut in December. It was as high as 93 or 94% a week ago, now down to 69. Joseph Wang, Fed Guy 12 on X, has a good YouTube channel. Check him out, Joseph Wang. The Fed will expand their balance sheet by several $100 billion as we head into year-end funding pressure. Again, remember, we had that record tapping on Halloween or October 31st. Now, Joseph Wang saying, buckle up. You've not seen anything yet as we get to the year end. Goldman Sachs is out now talking about this 6-week government shutdown impacting Q4 growth by over 1%. By over 1%. They're saying upwards of 1.15%. So, folks, I guess the last thing I noticed is two things we'll talk about. Kimberly-Clark dropping almost $50 billion, so $48.7 billion to buy Tylenol maker or Tylenol owner. And Beyond Meat, I had a couple of their steaks. Disgusting. So oily. Ugh, terrible. Haven't had them in a while, so maybe they changed, but man, they were bad. Anyways, Beyond Meat delays financial results due to an impairment charge. Yes, an impairment charge. So we'll see what that means. Typically speaking, when you don't release your earnings as expected, that is not good for stocks. So we'll see what happens to their stock this morning. And then finally, we did have 3 folks join school yesterday: Isaias, Raphael, and Walker. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure you introduce yourself, join accountability calls, get the free education. At the end of the day, folks, we are marching towards 500 everyday wealth builders. These are people that are taking action each and every day to build wealth. We know the first 5 years suck, but you know what? It gets better. When you have friends and family in a community like ours, it gets better. You smile more. You ask questions. You get answers. And we just all have fun together. So join school. I don't know why you're not in there. It's only 67 pennies a day. You won't regret it. Thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, and we'll do it live again. And, of course, don't forget to check out Steadily. It is the sponsor of the Daily Financial News, and they are landlord and landlord insurance only. Link in the description. See if they can help you. Take care. Bye.